Welcome back. We want the perfect house, the perfect family, the perfect life. And we view our pursuit of perfection as good because it drives us to try our best.
It's motivation, right? Yeah. It's goal setting. But according to Studio 5 relationship coach Matt Townsend, it may be the #1 source of depression, which we know Utah kind of ranks high on the list.
We're big on that.
Yeah.
There's got to be a corollary, right? A correlation between our desire to need to be perfect, want to be perfect, have to be perfect, the belief that it's important to be perfect someday, with the day-to-day life that's just not so perfect. Like our cute little kidlets that just spill junk all over the place. And they don't understand that they need to sit still, be quiet, and not make a mess.
So what's wrong with trying to be perfect? Because we want to be perfect.
Sure.
Is it a drawback? Is it a negative?
Well, is it your goal? I mean, there's probably nothing inherently wrong with it, except for the fact that it's just not going to happen. So it's kind of like wanting to be a perfect dancer. Me, for example. It's just not going to happen. I can try, but if I keep the dream alive, and I do. Nobody dances like I do. And I work, but the reality is, at some point, we have to realize that there's something more than the act of perfection. There's something more, like the process of getting there, that's probably going to matter more to us than the actual result that we made it.
In the words of Miley Cyrus, it's the climb.
Okay.
Right?
Yeah, and I've never quoted Miley.
The process?
That's amazing. That's amazing. Well, I thought you were going to do like achy, breaky heart.
I do what I can to contribute.
You're good, big time. So check this out. Here's the definition of perfectionism, okay? A disposition which regards anything short of perfect as unacceptable. So what's wrong with perfectionism is you will effectively overlook everything else. And the problem is, I believe our lives are about everything else. And perfection may someday be a fruit. It's not probably the ultimate or the day-to-day goal. Day-to-day, we got to get in it. I'm going to give you 4 keys to overcome this perfectionism.
And I think that you sort of nailed it on the head there. It's when it's not acceptable. It's okay to strive to be perfect. It's okay to want those things. But if you don't get it, it's okay. Right. But when it gets in your way, you're like, oh, I can't handle it.
Well, and
right?
think about it's not even about you anymore. It ends up being everyone else around you has to deal with your need to do something that's not possible and to not let it go. And off we go, okay? 4 keys. Are you ready for these? These will change your life. Not you, because you quote Miley Cyrus. So we've got to find the real, so once you've got Miley, you are near perfect. Find the real source of your perfectionism. Okay, so here's what we hear all the time. I always have people that tell me really good reasons why they're a perfectionist. Like, I'm just trying to be the very best I can be. Now, I think if you push them long enough, you'll realize that they're not always caring that they're the best they can be. They just want to be better than all the other yahoos on the block. So perfectionism, I think if you push it as a concept back deep enough, you're going to find that there's another route that's not so altruistic.
Like competition
or jealousy, or sometimes psychological disorders or obsessiveness. There's other things that are driving perfection, and then we try to put a really pretty bow on it, like, I only work my kids so hard in sports because I want them to have a shot in life. When in reality, that's a dad that's probably humiliated every time his son strikes out. So it's not about the boy, so don't try to pretty up your perfectionism. I think in our world, in our culture, it's kind of a noble thing to try to be perfect. And yet, in reality, there's probably an underlying root that we got to look out for. So dig down, everybody. If you feel like you're a perfectionist, dig down and try to pop out that root.
So it's not often just being perfect for the sake of being perfect. There's something else.
There's usually something you're trying to compensate for, low self-esteem or something like that. Okay? The next one is we focus on momentum, not perfection. To me, it's more important. See, all perfection is formed in a moment. The only way right now on this earth we can be perfect is momentary moments, glimpses of perfection. A really good bowling game, okay? But to me, the reality of perfection should be focused more on our momentum, the progress we're making. If you're going to perfect something, perfect progress. Perfect progression. Perfect learning. Perfect growing, perfect in getting better, kaizen, the Japanese call it, improvement, continuous improvement. If you want perfection, go for improvement. That's the momentum I'm talking about. Don't go for momentary glimpses, because in order to perfect something, we usually, it has to be almost the most minute part of any part of our life. So I might be able to perfect church attendance, for example, and yet, and we'll talk about it in a minute, overlook love, peace, hope, forgiveness, the real intangibles, okay? So focus on momentum, not perfection. The next one is focus on the intangibles just as much as the tangibles, okay?
And this is big.
This is big. So if you saw the show, we did a live show down at Health Center Theater, I talked about the prayer fight. Okay.
This is your family every night.
Yeah, it's actually my wife. I have nothing to do with it. My wife starts a fight around the prayer because we want to be perfect in prayer. right? So it's like, get in here, and we start a fight. And we are so bent on getting the prayer done so we can be near perfect in prayer as a family that we ruin everybody in the room. And everybody hates each other and there's tension.
Shut up and sit down right now.
I do that every Sunday when we're going to church. It's like, put your belt on, okay? The belt completes the outfit. You got to have a belt. Get in the tub now, now. And so we're yelling at them to be clean in the tub with the belt on. So we're perfect. We got them dressed with a belt, and everyone's crying all the way to church, okay? So we focus on the tangible things. When we try to be perfectionists, it's always about the tangible because it's easier to perfect tangible.
That's what you can see. You can
we also know when we've got it. But again, the most important things in life are going to be the intangibles, the relationship, the peace, the spirit in the home, stuff like that.
And that gets back to that progress, but also that perspective. I kind of hear you dancing around perspective. Like the bigger picture, the intangibles are the bigger things that are out there.
Always. So we're overlooking it. The perfectionist is focused on such a minute part of life, they're missing it. And the last tool is to focus or find peace in the present state of things, not in the perfect future condition or the past. Okay, how many times have you heard someone say, oh man, it was so perfect when we took the state championship, and they're talking about that moment in time where they may have played a perfect game. Or they're talking about it's the day that once so-and-so's home and we're doing all this and everything's good, then it'll be perfect. So notice what we're now focusing on is everything but being present. All growth, all development's going to take place presently. So perfectionists have a tendency to overlook being present in just the moment. There's beauty in everything, even this set. This orange thing right here, pull back. I didn't even know what that was. But it's a glass orb that I think adds a lot. By the way, show this if you can. Can you see this on the book?
Matt was trying to test
orange
me.
Jewel there.
I put a little orange jewel there because that's out of place, and I was thinking that would set Brooke off. And she's looking at it and wants to just fling it with her finger.
But I had perspective.
You had perspective.
And I was enjoying the moment.
See, yeah, well, you'll fix it later. When we're off camera. I know that. So we find peace in the moment. So you can go find one flower that's perfect. See, that's the neat thing about our nature. Our nature is perfect if you have the eyes to see it and the ears to hear it, right?
And perfectionism so often, you know, as I talk, because this is a big deal for women, I think, and as I talk to girlfriends, I think we all have a little bit of it in us.
We do.
And you talk to
women do too.
Well, sure, and it takes away from the daily happiness, like you said, living in the moment. They can't enjoy what is because they're talking about what
and they're always not good enough. That's the problem with perfection is you're never good enough most of the time till that one good game, till that one good scrapbook page. Till that one good whatever.
You really reached for that one.
Up until that point, they're depressed, and then once they reach that perfection, then they're depressed because they're not there as well.
Well, and then why didn't I do two of them?
Yeah.
It's a long road, and I honestly think if we're trying to also encapsulate this, that this is our religious principle. If you're going to perfect something, then perfect your faith. Don't perfect your act. If you're so caught up in the act, you're going to miss the moment. The growth is always in the moment. It's always in the space between you people. It's always in the space between you and your kids. It's not having your kid with his belt on.
You always have such profound words of wisdom.
I'm very deep. I'm very deep.
And next Thursday, you hang around with a bunch of women for smart women, right?
Yes, every Thursday we have this new class just for women, okay? To help women learn to cope with life, their neighbors, their friends. We know you don't need this help, but your neighbors do. So we want you to come from 1 to 2:30. It's actually not at Noah's.
It's at Townsend
Relationship Center. Look us up at matttownsend.com. It's $15 for an hour and a half of enlightenment and activities. Tons of fun.
Thanks,
Matt.
guys. Okay, coming up.